Howdy, howdy. Welcome on in to the pre-show before the free show on Mega Monday.
So is that what we're branding this? Mega Monday?
Mega Monday.
Mega Monday. Lighting's weird in here. Too much light. Less light. Can you turn off the lights?
You're closer.
Oh, that's too far. I'll just look terrible. Hello, everybody. Welcome into the pre-show before the free show, where we are back after a wild and woolly weekend of sports and football and all that implies around the state of Texas.
Yeah,
right?
Texas high school football came out hot.
It did. It did. And in fact, did come out hot. We are back. You were down in San Antonio, for the triple on Saturday.
Bangers.
All three pretty good.
Bangers.
All three.
We did not stay. Step stayed for the last one. Ish and I did not stay for the last one. But that one was unbelievable, too. They scored with 18 seconds left to win. The Reagan.
Steele did.
Yeah, Steele did. Reagan's game was pretty good. And then the headliner was the middle game between Judson and Johnson. Obviously, there was good storyline there with the two head coaches, but that one went into overtime, and it was a blast because there was a point where Judson was up by like 21 points, and Johnson came clawing all the way back to push it to overtime, and then it took Judson kicking like a 45-yard field goal, something like that. It was way back there to win the game in overtime, so it was a blast.
Rad. Yeah. I watched a lot of football on TV. Does that help? Is that the same? I'm basically the same as you guys traveling down. And then you went to San Marcos for some reason.
So we went to San Marcos to, get out of the San Antonio area to be able, because we were heading back up the next day. But then also, Ish had seen a San Marcos game Friday night. He went to San Marcos and Hutto. But I got kind of like the Ishmael Johnson tour around San Marcos. It was exceptional.
Did you go by the statue?
Which statue?
The Ishmael Johnson statue. I presume there's an Ishmael Johnson statue.
Yes, there's a bunch of mermaid statues, and then there's
what?
Yeah, so like it's funny because like Llano does it with deer. Like there's little like
but that makes sense though.
There's a ton of mermaid statues just everywhere around San Marcos. I mean the river. He has like the actual reasoning behind it.
No, you drew a connection there, and I'm gonna need you to flesh out.
Okay, there's no other I don't know what other connection. He knows the story. I just assumed it was because of the river. Because there's just mermaids in the river.
I was gonna say you're like, there's a river, so mermaids.
I don't. Do you have a better connection?
No, I was looking for any connection, but that doesn't satisfy my requirement of any connection. Deer and Llano makes sense.
Yeah, it's
right?
the deer capital of the
Deer
world.
and Llano makes sense. It's like I'm from Coppell, so like if they just had like a bunch of F-150s, you know what I mean?
Okay.
That's exactly what it would be.
Yeah.
Or like
mermaids.
Or like Ford Mustangs.
Anyway, I got to go to that night when we got back from the two games. We went to Tap Room. And they have a queso guacamole burger.
He tweeted about that, and Texas State Nation rolled out, and they're like, yes, that's the thing. She's doing the thing.
Yeah.
I've never heard of. My mom went to Texas State.
Yeah.
She was a shredder for the Bobcats.
Oh, nice.
But she, but I don't know if that's maybe predates her.
From my understanding,
it's been around a while.
Yeah, it seemed like everyone that was responding were people that have been there for a long time. But I was like, "Hey, what do I get?" And he was like, "Well, the burger. They're kind of known for their burgers." And I was like, "Okay." So I'm looking through all the lists and stuff, and then he was like, "I got to go with the queso guac burger." So I was like, "Okay, well that means I have to go with queso guac burger." And oh my god, it was outstanding. I had never thought about putting guac on a burger, I guess.
I've had like avocado on a burger.
Yeah, I've done avocado, but not like actual guac.
Was it messy? Seems messy.
Oh yeah, very messy.
Like, you gotta be into it.
Yeah, I looked at it because it's a half-pound burger too. Like usually I would go fourth-pound burger because like I love fries and stuff. So like the whole lot of everything. And if you're having a beer, it's kind of heavy, so I would usually go 4th pound. So it's half pound, and you're not changing that. And I was like, okay. And oh my goodness, I was like, I don't even know. He's like, you just have to go for it. And so like I took the first bite, and he's watching to see my reaction, and I've got queso over here and guac, and I was a mess. But then the next day, before we left, we went to Herbert's, which you've heard of Herbert's.
I have
before.
heard of Herbert's. Yes.
Mexican food. It's called a taco hut, but it's really like full. It's not like a taco place. It's full-fledged Mexican food. And I was like, okay, what do I get here? And he was like, this isn't a place that it's like, oh, you have to get this. It was anything. So I got cheese enchiladas because I was like, that's always kind of my go-to at Mexican food places is if they have good cheese enchiladas, then everything else is going to be good.
That's
exceptional.
I'm trying to think of like what an avatar for that is, but like. Yeah, if they've got good cheese quesadilla or enchiladas, then like everything else.
Everything.
Is
well, and
good.
I just feel like it's like the likelihood of me ending up back there is pretty good. So I didn't need to. It's not like I was on vacation in a one spot that I'm never going to go back to, so I need to get the signature dish. It's like, no, I want to see how good is this, because then I know the rest of it's going to be outstanding.
Yeah, I suppose it would be the equivalent of like if you go to like an Italian place and like the pepperoni pizza's good.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
All right, you got the basics down.
Everything that means
else will be
everything else is going to be good. So anyway, yeah, I probably gained 5 pounds this weekend, but it was well worth it.
Okay.
Shout out San Marcos.
Okay. I'll hang out with my kids. Hit the theme, Expo. Pickle! Hit the air sound. Yes, yo! From the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Mothership here in beautiful Lewisville, Texas, it is Texas Football Today, a show on the internet. It's a mega Monday. My name's Greg Tepper. I'm the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football magazine, TexasFootball.com, a corresponding website. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. Whether you're watching us live, TexasFootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, all of the places. Or listen to us in the podcast, which you can subscribe to on the podcast vendor of thy choice. Either way, thank you for doing your part to support your local mediocre internet show. I'm sitting over there at the helm today, making us sound good. She's the Duchess of the Dorks. She's the executive producer of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. She's talent on Bally Sports Southwest. Now it's official. You've done it. She's the Duchess of the Dorks. She's Ashley Pickle.
I was on camera for Bally for 3 years. Now I'm just in a box.
Yeah, I know, but like Ish likes to give you trouble for being talent.
I hate that word.
I know. It's
so
like
much. I complained to our producer Brian Smith about it that night. I was like, I don't want to be called that.
Well,
like, I know that's what I am.
The other thing is that like
that's the industry standard of what you say. But
I know. Well, it's like I don't know. Like all our reporters are talent too. You know what I mean? So it's like you were talent.
Yeah.
And like you're still talent. But now it's easy to make fun of you. Today is Monday, August 29th, 2022. It is 87 days until Thanksgiving.
Let's go.
I think. 87 days until Thanksgiving. Happy birthday to Moochie. Moochie is a 23-year-old YouTube star, according to the website I'm looking at. I'm just going to start shouting out the birthdays of people I've never heard of. I'm sure he's got like 17 million like subscribers or whatever, and he makes like $3.5 million a week.
Year. Yeah.
Like, and I'm here just making fun of him on the internet. Happy birthday, Moochie.
I hope he finds us and clips it like this scrub.
Episode 1400. Who's this old?
Here's this boomer making fun of me.
Yeah, he's getting all boomer over me. Episode 1445. On today's show, folks, it's Mega Monday.
Yeah.
Mega Monday. We got a lot to get to, including Monday Morning Fallout. We got that. We're going to overreact to the football weekend. Then we're going to announce what order to go in. That's right. We got the
Teams of the Week.
Ozarka
Team of the Week.
Ozarka Team of the Week. Then we're going to be joined by the head coach of the 1-0 Cuero Gobblers, Coach Jerod Fikac, who told me when I was booking him yesterday, he told me that I had some people riled up in DeWitt County for picking against him last week. Well, that shows what I know. So we got him on the show. Jerod Fikac is going to join us here at about 12:30. Then back half of the show, we're going to unveil the Mr. Texas Football Player of the Week nominees, and then we're going to unveil the Week 2 Dave Campbell's Texas Football Associated Press state rankings in each classification. So it's a big Mega Monday here on Texas Football Today. Do we have first four through the door?
We sure do. It was Miss Terry Adams, Nick Morton, Tony Blaylock, and Just Chad. Welcome in, fellas and lady fella.
Miss Terry's on a heater.
Yeah, she is.
It's like
she's
four
back.
of the last five. It's like four of the last five. She's checked in.
She's ready.
Checked in. Thanks for watching, folks. I'm out of practice, so like.
Rev it up.
See if I remember how to do this. Got to get the dust off. Pickle. Hit the air raid siren sign for Monday Morning Fallout. Monday Morning Fallout, of course, when we overreact to the football weekend. And boy, howdy. What a weekend to overreact to.
Holy week one.
It's great because like we finally have some data to actually dig through. And now we just like get to like sift through the wreckage.
Right.
So,
and there was a lot of wreckage.
Yes, it is. So we're very excited about that. Let's start with my three big thoughts. Thought number one is 1 week enough. Week one is always such a strange thing for us. And I think for anyone who pays a lot of attention to Texas high school football, it's always strange because we spend basically, like, we start kind of finalizing our picks for the magazine. I'll just speak from our perspective. We start finalizing our picks for the magazine in about May, right? So, like, in May, we're like, all right, since May, we've kind of had these teams in our head of what we think they are. And the longer you think about it without anything changing, because there's no games being played, right? Unless there's an injury here or there that might change your perspective.
Right.
But there's no data to back that, to change your mind. They kind of get crystallized in your brain. And so then when something does happen that would perhaps change your mind, your brain is left in a puddle. And you're wondering,
it's like, no, this is not how it's supposed to be.
Who Alex Macked my brain? Because there's so much to digest from this weekend because there was a lot of chaos. So now part of it is things that you can understand. So, for example, let me start at the smallest classification with six-man football.
Okay.
Six-man football, as you know, because the contenders, six-man football coaches are really good at self-sorting themselves.
Yes.
And saying the good teams are going to play the good teams in non-district and the struggling teams are going to play the struggling teams in non-district, right? They're good at self-sorting. As a result, you get all these bangers in non-district, okay? And so, for example, Rankin beat Balmorhea last week. Rankin beat Balmorhea. Rankin's the number 6 team in 1A Division 1. Balmorea's the number 2 team in 1A Division 2. And so then I am left with looking at that and going, isn't that about right?
Yep. Isn't that how that
team's
should
bigger,
be?
so you have to take that into account. That team's a state-ranked team. It's obviously pretty good, but that is the number 2 team in 1 division. So, like, you're left with these things. There are other things. Like, another one that I was watching was Duncanville and South Oak Cliff.
Yep.
Duncanville and South Oak Cliff. Duncanville wins 24-10 or 23-10, I think was the final. They scored a late touchdown. It was a one-score game for 95% of that game, and they scored a late touchdown to pull away. That's the number 4 team in 6A and the number 1 team in 5A Division 2. Isn't that exactly how it's supposed to go?
Right. I think another example of that would be Hallettsville and Shiner.
So that's an interesting one.
Shiner is number 1 in 2A Division 1, but they're playing Hallettsville's 3 Division 1. That's
yes,
two whole classifications.
A full classification, 2 whole divisions up. They're playing there and they lose, right? So what I'm left to do, and the way that I approach the week one things, and your mileage may vary, certainly overreact if you want. This is a safe space to overreact. You see the nuclear symbol down here. This is a place to overreact. But what I end up doing is I start looking for what the game looked like, how it entailed, and what particular units looked like. For example, let's talk about Gilmer. A big question coming into this game was, what does Gilmer's offense look like without Brandon Tennyson?
And then there was
we have a response. The answer is
it's still a
pretty
Tennyson.
stinking good as they beat Chapel Hill and they hang a 50 burger on him with Caden Tennyson, his brother, at quarterback. So,
who is just a freshman or a sophomore?
I think a sophomore. So for me, what I do is that for now, and it's week one. It's only one piece of data, but that answers that question for me. let's take another one, and that I think this is more tougher to parse. But let's take what happened to Allen. Mm-hmm. Allen welcomes in the number 1 team in the country, St. John Bosco out of California, and St. John Bosco launches them into the sun.
Right.
The final score, I didn't even see the final score.
I did not either. It started turning into murderer's row.
Final was 52-14, and it was not that close.
No.
52-14. Bosco could have hung 100 if they wanted to. I don't necessarily fault Allen for losing to that team. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's necessarily an issue. But my prior coming into this game was I have concerns about the Allen defense. Mm-hmm. And giving up 52, and especially I think there was like 35 or 38 in the first half.
Right.
Kind of gives me some concern, right? And then there's another one that kind of comes out of left field, and that's New Braunfels beating Denton Ryan. Mm-hmm. Denton Ryan was a number 5 team or number 2 team in 5A Division 1. And 5A Division 1 was chaos. Aledo got beat by Parish Episcopal. College Station got beat. I mean, it's chaos. Just wait till the rankings come out. But with Denton Ryan, they're playing a New Braunfels team that is a third. We got them projected 3rd in their district. Mm-hmm. We think they're a decent team, and it's a 6A team. Mm-hmm. We think they're a decent team, but they are not a state-ranked 6A team. No. Now, maybe they'll get there, and maybe that loss is going to age a lot better. Mm-hmm. But for me, one of the issues that I like, this is a red flag game for Ryan for me. This is a red flag because there were issues with the offense. Mm-hmm. They scored on special teams. They got to third. I think they 34-33 was the final. Mm-hmm. But Ryan scored on defense and on special teams. So they needed that to get. So there's concerns on offense. There's concerns on defense, giving up 34 points to New Braunfels and giving up 500 yards of total offense.
That pushed the agenda on the questions arising because I feel like there have always been questions about that offense since Seth Hennigan has left, but the defense was able to hold steady, and so it's one of those things, if this proves to be true and the defense is down, that's where the actual issues come, because they can stick in it with defense, but if not, then I don't know what you're supposed to do.
I'm not here to tell you that if you lost in week 1, you should get out a shovel.
Right.
And I'm not here to tell you that if you won in week 1, you should start playing the parade. What I am here to tell you is that if you dig into the data a little bit more, there are things to be gleaned from week 1 that we'll see in week 2 and the next couple of weeks whether or not those hold up. Mm-hmm. So there's thought number 1. Thought number 2, week 0 reality check.
Caw. So
the FBS game in the college football ranks in Texas in week 0 was North Texas going out to UTEP in a week in a conference game in week 1, week 0 rather. And North Texas comes away with a win. They pull away in the third quarter and never really look back. I thought for the first half both teams looked pretty sloppy. Mm-hmm. I thought it wasn't particularly crisp, but one team settled in and it was North Texas. Here are the things that I'm encouraged by. For North Texas, like, we went into this year wondering, could this defense take a step?
Yes.
Could they take a step?
We've been wondering that for years now.
The early returns, it's one game. Mm-hmm. The early returns are positive on that.
That defensive line was very impressive in the second half. They
got after it.
And I don't know if that says more about UTEP's offensive line not being up to par, but they were giving Gavin Hardison a terror in the backfield.
Yes. He was having a tough time. For UTEP, this is a team we had really high expectations for. Mm-hmm. And to start the year 0-1 really feels like a lot of the air is getting let out of the balloon. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not here to bury them. And maybe North Texas is a lot better than we thought they'd be. But for me, that serves a reality check.
Especially at a home game. When you have a home game with a sold-out crowd, like you have to capitalize on that. I think so. Because they're not going to get teams like UTSA. Like, no. I think that's pretty well known. Yeah. But North Texas is one that you could.
That's one of those in their range that they should win. Another one, and maybe this flew under your radar, but Stephen F. Austin kind of got the boots taken to him by Jacksonville State.
Yep.
Stephen F. Austin's a team that we think has an outside shot of being a contender in the FCS ranks in the national scope. Did not look good in week 1. The offense really scuffled, and the defense had trouble containing that offense, which is coached by Rich Rodriguez. Remember him? So there's a little bit of a reality check there as well. So A little disappointing, I would say, for what we saw from the college football ranks in Texas, with the exception of North Texas, who's got to be feeling pretty darn good. Thought number 2. Thought number 3, iron sharpens iron. I want to see if I can pull up this tweet that I found from Josh Gibson, the head coach of the Pleasant Grove Hawks. Pleasant Grove Hawks took on Brock on Friday night, and they won. Great win. Really, really impressive win. They tweeted out something, and so he tweeted out, this is at 11:09, so obviously the game's over. He said it was 28-7, Pleasant Grove beat Brock. Quote, super classy program in Brock football. You won't have bigger fans than Pleasant Grove. You sharpened us, we sharpened you, and we both ain't scared to play big games. Good luck next week. That is, to me, a good distillation of what we can take from week 1. Because there's a lot of contenders that punched up that lost, that took it on their chin. Lorena. Lorena goes to China Spring and they lose. Now, China Spring looked good.
Yep.
Cash McCollum looked like the real deal there in that kind of new-look China Spring offense. But they were, they took it on the chin. They punched up and they got punched. South Oak Cliff punched up against Duncanville and got punched, right?
Shiner, Refugio.
Shiner punched up. Refugio punched up. These programs. But go look at what happened to Lorena last year. Lorena loses their first 2 games to both to eventual state champions in Franklin and China Spring. They go on a run. That is, to me, a distillation of what these teams can gain by doing that. They can go out there and they can go up against teams that are going to that are the types of teams that they're going to have to beat, the quality of teams they're going to have to beat to make a run to a state championship. That is it. So, yeah, Brock lost. They played a state-ranked 4A team, and they lost. I don't think that reflects poorly on Brock.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, and now, they're doing it again. They're going to play Hershey this week.
But it's different. So here's the thing. And perhaps you're thinking, but Tepper, aren't you speaking out of both sides of your mouth? Because what were you saying about Denton Ryan? I think the team that you're punching up against matters. I also think that the team that, like, the way that the game went matters. Do you know what I mean? For Brock, obviously they got to figure out the offense, right? Give up 7 points. Or they only scored 7 points. But they were playing a top 5 team in a classification above them.
Whose defense is historically pretty darn
Correct.
good.
So, for me, there's a lot to digest and it's a lot to sift through. You don't want to make broad declarations, but there is something positive to be taken from punching up.
Well, I guess this isn't necessarily punching up. It is in the same classification, but when Fort Bend Ridgepoint signed up to play Austin Westlake, and honestly, they were tied 14-14 before the Westlake machine got on, but that's huge.
Yes, I agree. That's a good example. It's an excellent example. El Paso Eastwood playing South Lake Carroll. Got their teeth kicked in. But they obviously want to win. I'm not here to say Julio Lopez didn't want to win that game. What I'm saying is they got what they wanted. Right. They wanted to get challenged by an elite team. And they got
make the travel. That's another thing. It doesn't have to be necessarily on the field, per se.
Agreed. So there's 3 big thoughts. 3 helmet stickers. A helmet sticker to the aforementioned New Braunfels Unicorns and their running back, Tyree Johnson. Ran 25 times for 101 yards and a touchdown rushing. Had 2 catches for 83 yards and a touchdown receiving in the Unicorns. Big win over Denton Ryan. A helmet sticker to UTEP wide receiver Tyron Smith. I thought he was the real star of the UTEP offense on Saturday night. 7 catches, 127 yards, and a touchdown through the air receiving. I was impressed by him. If he's going to step up, then I think they've got an opportunity to make some noise if they can settle in, especially get the rest of that offense going. And finally, a helmet sticker to Spring Westfield quarterback P.J. Hatter.
I think that's an outstanding quarterback name.
Did you see what Spring Westfield did?
I did.
Spring Westfield put a hurtin' on their week 1 opponent. They beat Cy Park 63-3.
Yeah, that.
Remember, Cy Park was a team. Now they've lost a lot.
Yes,
but that's a Cy Park team that may be reloading. But they you don't beat anybody by 60.
No, when we saw
in week 1,
when we saw the brewings of that, them getting up into the 50s, I think it might have been Steps sent a tweet in the Slack, and we were like, "Holy cow!"
P.J. Hatter goes 18 of 21 for 360 yards and 6 touchdowns passing, and had 12 yards on the ground too. P.J. Hatter, a name to know there at Spring Westfield. 3 teams to watch. Let's stay in the Houston area. Let's talk about CE King.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, CE King's a 6A, and they were playing a 5A. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So let's not go crazy. But they took it to Crosby.
They dropped
Crosby,
a 50 burger on 'em.
who was a state semifinalist last year. Crosby, who was in a title game the year before. And they beat him 63-7. 63-7. Now, do you know who they play this week?
Mm-hmm. The Allen Eagles. And
The segment's called Teams to Watch. Keep an eye on that because you want to talk about 2 programs that right now the trajectory seems opposite directions.
And you want to talk about, like, using data points to really figure something out in week 2? That's this game.
Very interested in that.
A lot of questions
George
get
Young
answered for
and
both.
the Panthers looked really good. Keep an eye on them. Another team to watch, Hitchcock.
I've been beating this drum since state 7-on-7.
I know. So Hitchcock goes and they beat Refuria. Okay? Now, again, that's a 3A over a 2A, so we don't want to go super crazy.
Right.
But, first of all, they beat them 49-12. Beat them 49-12.
Right.
This is a team that – did they win the state 7-on-7 tournament?
No, they played in the finals.
Played in the final. They
Yes.
were in getting close to the end.
Yeah, we watched about 3 of their state 7-on-7 games. They have a 2025 quarterback that is outstanding, and they have just about a core of 3 different receivers that could just go. And we wondered when they put the pads on, like, was this going to be an actual thing? At the moment I realized it was Hitchcock, I was like, they're actually good.
This team looked the part. The offense looked fantastic. Refugio, I think, has got they're changing around their offense right now. They're monkeying with their offense, so we don't know exactly what that offense is going to look like. But keep an eye on Hitchcock. I don't think that's a fluke. I think Hitchcock is for real. Keep an eye on a big game this week against East Bernard. And finally, keep an eye on Bay City. Now you're probably thinking, Tepper, what? Why would I keep an eye on Bay City? I'll tell you why you should keep an eye on Bay City. They beat Sweeney 68-0.
Yeah.
They were 16-point underdogs according to the computer in that game, and they beat them 68-0. Now, maybe there's something wrong with Sweeney. We'll find out a lot more this week against Edna. Okay, they get Edna, who's a certified contender in the 3A ranks.
Yes.
If they go out there and do something like that to Edna, it's time to start paying attention to Robert Jones's
Yeah,
Black
because
Cats
are they in Region 3 or 4?
They're Region 3.
3, okay.
4 division.
I was going to say Edna's usually the favorite in Region 4.
Yeah. 3 to C. Let's look forward to week 2. I guess I could have put a college football game on here, but I didn't. I just too
We have the high school juices
juiced up on high school
flowing.
football. Denton Guyer and Aledo.
Yep.
So Denton Guyer looked fabulous in their week 1 win.
Jackson Arnold
Jackson
had
Arnold looked
wheels.
the truth. He looked great. Now they go to Aledo, an 0-1 Aledo team. Aledo, who has now lost back-to-back games for the first time since, like 2008?
Yep.
Big test for Aledo. 0-2 Aledo is not outside the realm of possibility here. But
And again, this
Guyer
is
will be
punching
tested.
up, but
but Guyer will be tested for sure. Thursday night, Little Cypress, Mauriceville, and West Orange Stark in Bridge City.
this is a fantastic coaching matchup, too.
Great coaching matchup here with Hiawatha Hickman there. Now 1-0 as the head coach at West Orange Stark, taking on Eric Peavy there at Little Cypress, Mauriceville. Both of them were winners in week 1. Really interesting Southeast Texas matchup there at Bridge City. I believe Steph's going to be there.
And I think we should have this on Texan Live. I will verify.
Ooh, I might have to tune into that. And finally, Cisco and Wall. These two teams always get together, and I like it. I'm glad they do. This is a really intriguing matchup. Cisco was a winner over Clyde, 41-13, and that was again a 2A over 3A, and they beat them pretty handily. Wall took down Eastland 49-20. So these are two teams that are feeling good about themselves right now that are going to collide out there in Wall, Texas, and that will be a fun matchup. So that's 3 to C, and that is Monday Morning Fallout. We are Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's, and of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. TexasFootball.com is where you can find complete coverage of high school football, college football recruiting, all across the Lone Star State. Pickle, let me tell you about our friends at Ozarka and the Ozarka
Team of the week.
Right. Yeah, the Ozarka team of the week. I got to tell you. It's a Fueled by Nature team of the week. I got to get that right. Week 1 for everybody. Dave Campbell's Texas Football is proud to honor one team in each classification with the Ozarka Fueled by Nature Team of the Week award. The teams selected throughout the course of this program have exemplified the best of Texas high school football. Your Week 1 Ozarka Teams of the Week in 6A, Cy Lakes. Darnell Green and Javion Wolf combined for 249 yards on the ground as the Spartans surged past Cy Ridge 32-16, snapping their 20-game losing skid. Congratulations to the Spartans. In 5A, Lake Belton. In their first UIL contest, the Broncos looked more than ready for the challenge, cruising past state-ranked Leander Rouse 47-21. That is an eye-opener.
Mm-hmm. And shout out to Step. He sniffed this one out early.
He's been banging the Lake Belton drum for a while. In 4A, Uvalde. Just months after an unspeakable act of gun violence changed the town forever, the Coyotes played the most inspired game of the young season, knocking off Carrizo Springs 21-13. In 3A, San Angelo TLC. Quarterback Lane Honea threw for 291 yards and 6 touchdowns to pace the high-flying Eagles as TLC snapped a 24-game losing streak, the state's 4th longest skid, with a 42-36 win over Ozona. In 2A, Monday, Chris Garcia ran for 127 yards and 2 touchdowns, and the defense held up its end of the bargain as the Moguls took down Mercy Culture Prep 18-14, ending a 16-game losing streak. In 1A,
this one went under my radar.
Ira. One of the biggest upsets of the weekend, the Bulldogs dominated state runner-up Motley County 54-6 at the Jayton Gridiron Classic.
That when you sent that out, I sent you back a thing, and I was like, holy cow, I missed that one.
And in the private school ranks, Dallas Parish Episcopal. In this high-profile matchup of state-ranked squads, the Panthers defense snuffed out Alito's attack en route to a 24-17 victory. So those are your Week 1 Ozarka Fueled by Nature Teams of the Week. In 6A, Cy Lakes. In 5A, Lake Belton. In 4A, Uvalde. In 3A, San Angelo TLC. In 2A, Monday. In 1A, Ira, and in private school ranks, Dallas Parish Episcopal. Congratulations to all the schools. We salute you. For more information, visit texasfootball.com. And now a word from our friends at VCR Now.
Born and bred in Texas hits a little different, as it should. Texas loves doing business with fellow Texans. VCR Now takes its Texas roots as seriously as its many partnerships with schools and universities around the state. It's also why we're so proud to promote our brand in the pages of the Texas Bible, Dave Campbell's Texas Football, and on the airwaves of Texas Football Today. Driven by producing quality broadcast video, state-of-the-art audio, and LED video scoreboards at affordable prices, VCR Now makes sure to listen to your needs in its athletic department before recommending the next best steps. Building great products is our business, and it's our focus on building meaningful, long-term partnerships with our clients that sets us apart. From our 24/7, 365-day help desk, the training lab in our hometown of Red Oak, or our sports marketing business plan that puts money back in the hands of our athletic departments we support, VCR Now is built to last. Reach out to us today at info@vcrnow.com or by calling 855-GO-VCR-NOW. Again, that's info@vcrnow.com or by calling 855-GO-VCR-NOW.
Pickle, let's go to the hotline, and let's go to DeWitt County. Talk to perhaps the most popular man in DeWitt County these days. We're joined by the 1-0 head coach of the 1-0 Cuero Gobblers. We're joined by Coach Jerod Fikac. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, appreciate your time. I know you're coming off the field here with a little bit of Monday practice. I have to imagine there's a little pep in the step of the Gobblers these days.
Oh, yeah. Starting the season 1-0 is big. There's high expectations. Our kids have high expectations, and they do a good job. We try to focus on practice every week. We got to turn the page from last week and get ready for another big-time Navarro team. But it sure is nice sitting here at 1-0 than an alternative.
You guys were taking on an El Campo squad that was state-ranked in the division above you guys, and all you guys did was roll up 542 yards total offense with a new coach and a new quarterback and a new offense and all that fun stuff.
Light work.
Week one for everybody is a different experience. I'm interested, what did you learn about your team on Friday night?
We came out with a tons of enthusiasm, obviously, hyped up. And in the first half, we jumped out pretty quickly, and we were able to sustain that that type of energy pretty much throughout the course of the game. But I think the biggest turning point, what I learned about these guys is we came out at a half. We were up and we had the first possession. We throw a pick six after they had just scored before the half. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at it and, it's kind of like, well, where's the momentum going? And then we roll up in the next play after kickoff and score a touchdown. And so it's just, learning these guys in the way they look at adversity and kind of seeing things and then not going down into the tank. They got tons of confidence in themselves. That's kind of Cuero. That's kind of the way things are. And so it was just neat watching those guys look that in the eye and then just kind of keep pushing.
This is you guys are a team that came in, especially, there are questions about quarterback, and yet you guys were able to have a fantastic performance from your quarterback in Mason Notaro, the junior. His first varsity start, but you would have thought he was a 3-year starter out there. What did you see from Mason on Friday night?
He was calm. I'm sure he had nerves. Most kids do, playing in that position. I tell them, you're playing the quarterback position in the state of Texas in high school football, which is probably the best in the country. So, you got all the eyes on you, but he handled that tremendously. He's a calm, cool-headed, level-headed kid. He's a film rat. He gets in, he studies, right? He's a hard worker. And so he just was able to control the offense, again, control his emotions. He had that one pick six and then came right back and led the offense tremendously. So super proud of him. He started this stuff back in March and April when I got here, and just learning the offense and picked it up really well. And so it was neat to see them get out there and, take leadership and the guys have confidence in him.
Talking with Jerod Fikac, the head coach of the Cuero Gobblers here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation at #TF Today. And Coach, of course, there's also the other side of the ball. The defense stood on its head in this game. I mean, they looked fantastic, holding a very high-powered, star-studded offense there from El Campo to just 165 yards. Was that a surprise to you? Did you think your defense had that in them?
No, yes, 100%. I know it was a surprise around the state that, we played the way we did, but, I've got 33 guys in that locker room and coaches that have tons of confidence in each other. They come to work every single day with tons of confidence in each other. So, we knew, if we play the way we're capable of playing, we were going to be right there in the game. Obviously, we got 8 returning starters coming back on the defensive side. And you've got defensive linemen that do a phenomenal job. And then you got 2 linebackers in Patek and Burks that, man, they roam around and they're not afraid to be physical. And so, they had a tremendous game plan. Coach Blanc and that defensive side had a tremendous game plan, and the kids went out and executed it to a T. So no surprise when it comes to what they're capable of doing, because the physicality's been here since August 1st when we started this thing, and in just them being where they're supposed to be and getting 11 hats to the ball. And these kids take pride in that.
We haven't had you on the show since your move from Eastview there to Cuero, and I'm we've heard a lot from folks around the Cuero community about what a great fit you are for this program and why but I'm interested in the reverse of that question. Why was Cuero the right move for you?
Well, I grew up a majority of my life in Shiner. I spent some time in Shiner, which is a few miles down the road. I never really spent time in Cuero, but drove through coming to Cuero when I was going to Victoria as a kid. My dad actually coached in Gonzales. I stood on the sidelines in Cuero, Texas, back in like 87 or 88 when Robert Strait was playing. And, to be said, I guess you call me a small town kid. I like this atmosphere. I like this one horse town that takes pride in obviously their football. And you got, there's tons of tradition here. I want to put my stamp on it, but you're not going to, the tradition is the tradition. You see the Cuero Gobblers and everybody knows what they're about. And so, it's been great for my family. I got 2 young kids and I wanted them to grow up in a little bit smaller community, because that's kind of what I got an opportunity to do. So it's been a 100% fit for me. And my family. So my wife's got relatives that her mom actually graduated from high school here. So there was a tons of ties. And when the job came open, I sat down and it was like, this is a no-brainer. I got to go give it a shot.
So you're obviously familiar with this program. You're familiar with the community. It is. I've said lovingly about them over the years that it is a town full of crazy people for their gobblers. I'm interested now. You've been on the job. You got hired back in March. You've been on the job for let's call it 6 months now. What do you know about this job now that maybe you didn't know when you took over?
Man, it's still coaching. You know what I mean? It's still just getting in here and loving on the kids and building relationships with these kids. It's been, I'm not going to say easier because none of it's easier, but it's been nice stepping into a place where there's this tradition and that stuff's there. And, we started from the ground. This is the first school I kind of been to where as a head coach where, they're coming out of state semifinals. And so there's the expectations there. And so that's really nice. But just seeing the sea of green of people in the bleachers, the expectations, I got a job to do and we're going to continue to do that job. And that's the expectations. And I take that weight and go with it. And so, Cuero's a phenomenal place. It gets me closer to the water too, to be honest with you. So we need to go to the beach. I can head to the beach a little bit easier than where I was before. So that's always nice.
All right, and finally, Coach, it's on to the next one as 7:30 p.m. Friday night there at beautiful Gobbler Stadium in Cuero. You will welcome in the Navarro Panthers, who took it on the chin last week in a Week 1 loss. I don't want to ask you to give away your game plan, but when you take a look at what you guys are going to be up against on Friday night in the Navarro Panthers, what do you see?
Obviously they got the slot T offense and they run it to a T, and so – to stop that type of offense, you got to be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. And so, for us, it's just focusing us on the little things that we didn't do necessarily great last Friday and getting better at that stuff. But they're going to come in here hungry. There's no doubt about it. Coach Blount does a great job over there. Those coaches do a great job. They've got a ton of tradition too, and they expect to win. And so we're going to have to put our A game together. There's no doubt about that. But hopefully for us, it's continued growth on both the offense and defensive side of the ball in everything that we do. And so, I think our kids are locked in, ready to go. And so we're going to get out here and, like you said, at Gobbler Stadium and try to put on a good performance and see what happens.
He's Jerod Fikac, the head coach of the 1-0 Cuero Gobblers. See him Friday night there in Cuero as they take on the Geronimo Navarro Panthers. Coach, appreciate your time. Congratulations again on the big win, and go get him Friday night.
Thanks, sir.
There he goes, Jerod Fikac, head coach, Cuero Gobblers, join us here at Texas Football Today. Big win. I mean, that's a I'm not throwing dirt on El Campo. I think they've got to figure some things out, obviously. Mm-hmm. Coach Chad Worrell and company got to figure some things out, but
I don't know if
my goodness. 43-14 against a state-ranked team that's in the larger classification. Mm-hmm. I'll say this.
The guy as well. That's the biggest thing.
Our computer rankings are going up tomorrow on TexasFootball.com. Mm-hmm. I will tell you that Cuero in 4A Division 2 right now. And again, the computer is recalibrating constantly, so give it a minute. But they do have a ranking next to them that starts with a 1. Mm-hmm. And there's not another digit in it. So, 4A Division 2. Anyway, computer awfully impressed. So are we about what the Cuero Gobblers did on Friday night. We're at Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at TexasFootball.com, TexasFootball.com/subscribe to become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber. 2 magazines and a year's worth of exclusive online content at TexasFootball.com. Go there, scan that QR code. It would be a lot of fun. Should we talk about our friends at Athletes to Athletes? What do you think?
We shall.
All right, let's talk about our friends at Athletes to Athletes. Every player wants to play with the. Oh man, I need to find my read. I thought I had it memorized. I know the gist of it, but I don't have.
I have it. If you want me to
I've
read it.
got it. It's good. It's you sent it to me like 2 years ago, and now I got to scroll up and find it. Every high school athlete wants to play on the big stage, and every parent wants their child to be the best. But is making your target list of schools based on top 25 rankings really the best strategy? What about academics? What about location? What about coaching style? What about financial aid? There's so many different factors that need to be considered when selecting a college program outside of just how good the team is on the field. Our friends at Athletes to Athletes have put together a recruiting guide centered around providing a broader, more holistic perspective about what your college experience could be. This thing's got 22 pages. It's got checklists, do's and don'ts, key strategies, so much more. It covers everything you and your family should know as you walk through the college recruiting journey. For a limited time, Athletes to Athletes is offering this guide for free to our audience. That's right. Just go to athletesAthletes.com/Dave Campbell today to download the free college recruiting guide. That's athletes, TOathletes.com/Dave Campbell for our friends at Athletes to Athletes. Or scan that QR code, and that will take you there as well. All right. What's next? We got so many things to do on the
Player of the Week
Is that
nominees.
right? Are you sure?
I am in charge of the rundown here, so yes.
Okay. Dave Campbell's Texas Football, in partnership with the TaxAct Texas Bowl, is proud to present the Mr. Texas Football Player of the Week award to the most deserving high schooler in the state of Texas. Every Monday at noon-ish, TexasFootball.com announces 10 candidates for that week's award based on the previous week's on-field performance. We then leave it up to you to vote at TexasFootball.com on who you think should be the Mr. Texas Football Player of the Week. Voting closes each Friday at noon, with the winner being announced here on TexasFootball.com and Texas Football Today shortly thereafter. 10 nominees for the Mr. Texas Football Player of the Week, starting with Katy Cinco Ranch wide receiver Noah Abood. 10 catches, 209 yards, and 3 touchdowns receiving. Light work for Katy Cinco Ranch receiver Noah Abood. Timpson quarterback and defensive back Terry Bussey. Goes 12 of 14, 253 yards, 4 touchdowns passing, 13 carries, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns rushing, 8 tackles, and a tackle for loss.
Just for fun.
Against a state-ranked Beckville team on the road. Taft quarterback J.J. Acosta. This is Taft Greyhounds, I should say.
Yes.
30 of 35, 515 yards, 4 touchdowns passing, and a touchdown on the ground. Comanche wide receiver and defensive back Miguel Martinez. 5 catches, 127 yards, and a touchdown receiving. He had 3 tackles and 2 interceptions. Carrollton Newman Smith wide receiver and defensive back DeMonte Green. 10 catches, 153 yards, 2 touchdowns receiving, 3 interceptions, and he took one of them back for a touchdown for Carrollton Newman Smith, DeMonte Green. Waco La Vega running back Bryson Rowland, 22 carries, 249 yards, 4 touchdowns on the ground, plus another 14 receiving yards. I don't want to tell you how to vote. I really don't. But let me tell you what San Saba athlete Tyler Johnson did.
It's absurd.
9 carries, 77 yards, 3 touchdowns rushing. 3 catches, 37 yards, 2 touchdowns receiving. 2 kickoff return touchdowns. 4 tackles, a tackle for loss, a forced fumble, and he kicked 2 PATs.
I mean, that is absurd.
For San Saba athlete Tyler Johnson. Don't want to tell you how to vote.
But my gosh.
Tenaha quarterback Jatyron Moore, but you can call him Pooh Moore, which is good. 417 yards and 6 touchdowns on the ground. 417 on the ground, I should say. 44 yards and a touchdown passing. Mineral Wells running back Jose Garcia, 320 yards and 4 touchdowns rushing for Mineral Wells running back and Jose Garcia. And finally, San Antonio Johnson quarterback Ty Hawkins. Is this the guy that put the video on the Slack?
It's the one I texted you about on Saturday saying, it was in a group chat with some Valley friends. We were like, by the way, Ty Hawkins is a name that you want to watch out for.
Ty Hawkins, San Antonio Johnson, 317 yards, 5 touchdowns passing, 151 yards, and a touchdown rushing for San Antonio Johnson quarterback Ty Hawkins. There they are, the 10 nominees. Sophomore?
Sophomore.
God almighty. There they are, the 10 nominees for the Mr. Texas Football Player of the Week award this week. Vote early, vote often, vote now at TexasFootball.com. There's just one more thing to do today, Pickle, on our Mega Monday show, and that is to unveil the Week 2, technically Week 2 awards.
Yeah, ranking season.
The official Dave Campbell's Texas Football Associated Press, Texas High School Football Rankings. Of course, Dave Campbell's Texas Football has been the official rankings provider of the Associated Press since 2019. We're very proud of that. So these are the official Texas High School Football Rankings of record. And guess what? This year, I'm making fancy graphics.
Yeah.
That's right. So these are the Week 2 Texas High School Football Rankings. We will start with 6A. We have the top 25 in 6A. The top 10 is almost entirely unchanged. Westlake and North Shore and South Lake Carroll round out the top 3. Duncanville hangs on to that 4th spot. We did lose a number 7 team in Lake Travis who lost to Arlington Martin, but numbered up new into the top 10 is Humble Atascocita. Let's matriculate over to 11 through 25, where there's a lot of change here. Highland Park makes a big leap from 20 to 14 there with their win over Flower Mound Marcus. Lake Travis drops from number 7 to number 13. A bit of a shuffle here. Brennan, with their loss to Cibolo Steel, drops to number 16. Alvin Shadow Creek makes a nice leap. We lose 5, 6 different state-ranked teams, including Unranked for the first time in a long time, the Allen Eagles drop out of the top 25 with their loss to St. John Bosco. Fort Bend, Rich Point, the Woodlands, Dickinson, Yules Trinity, and Rockwall Heath all out, but new to the rankings. Number 18, Prosper with their win over Trinity. Number 19, Dripping Springs with their thrilling win over Austin Vandergrift. Also new to the rankings, number 22, Bridgeland into the rankings at number 22 with their win over Cy-Fair. Round Rock into the rankings at number 23 with their win over Pflugerville Weiss. And the Temple Wildcats into the top 25 with their win over McKinney. Let's move on to 5A. 5A Division I. Chaos. Absolute chaos here. Longview hangs on to the number 1 spot, but then there's huge movement in the top 5. Frisco Lone Star up to number 2 from number 5. A&M Consolidated up to number 3 from number 7. Mansfield Timberview with a thrilling win over South Grand Prairie up to number 4 from number 9. Amarillo Tascosa simply by just winning. Like, that's the thing. Just win. They might move up to number 5. Port Arthur Memorial new to the rankings at number 6. Smithson Valley new to the rankings at number 7. And then you have teams that were in the top 5 that we decided to give an opportunity to stay in the top 10. Denton Ryan drops from number 2 to number 8 with their loss to New Braunfels. Aledo drops from number 3 to number 9 with their loss to Parish Episcopal. And College Station drops from number 4 to number 10 with their loss to Lucas Lovejoy. But we did lose 2 teams out of the rankings. Number 6, Crosby has dropped out, and number 8, Manville has dropped out as well. To 5A Division II we go. A little bit more calm. Top 4 remain unchanged. We keep South Oak Cliff despite the loss of Duncanville at number 1. We maintain we had a lengthy debate about this, but we think that by punching up and playing that close game, they stay number 1. Lucas Lovejoy's hot on their heels, though, with their win over College Station. Liberty Hill at Fort Bend Marshall, they're at number 4. Argyle up a spot to number 5. Wichita Falls Ryder up a spot to number 6. Colleyville Heritage up 2 spots to number 7 by thumping Irving Nimitz. 2 new teams into the rankings. Grapevine makes their debut at number 8 with a win over Frisco Wakeland. San Antonio Veterans Memorial makes their debut in the rankings at number 9 with their win over San Antonio Harlandale. Texas High hangs on to their number 10 spot with a one-score loss to now number 2 in 5A Division I, Frisco Lone Star. Dropping out of the rankings, number 5 Mansfield Summit and number 8 Leander Rouse. To 4A we go. 4A Division I. A little bit of movement here. 3 new teams into the rankings. Stephenville and China Spring remained there at number 1 and number 2, respectively. Salina up from number 5 to number 3. La Vega moves up 3 spots to number 4. And Calallen moves up a spot with their win over Gregory Portland. Chapel Hill, their loss to Gilmer drops them from number 3 to number 8, but they do hang on to the rankings. Kilgore also drops from number 8 to number 10. 3 new teams into the rankings, as I mentioned. Bernie, number 6, there with their win over Corpus Christi Flower Bluff. Very impressive from the Greyhounds. Little Cypress Mauriceville into the rankings with a win over Hardin Jefferson. They're at number 7. And Anna makes their rankings debut at number 9 with a win over Decatur. Out of the rankings, number 4 El Campo, number 9 Dumas, and number 10 Kennedale drop out of the top 10. To 4A Division II we go, where this was a lot. Everyone behaved here.
Yes.
Everyone behaved 1 through 9
well.
unchanged. Carthage, Gilmer, Wichita Falls, Hershey round out the top 3. New to the ranking, number 10 Geronimo Navarro does drop out with their loss last week, but into the rankings at number 10 Belleville. Their win over LaGrange, 24-14, gets to the number 10 spot in 4A Division
That's
II.
a good LaGrange team, too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. 3A Division I, we have a new number 1. The Franklin Lions, the new number 1 team in 3A Division I, with their narrow win over Woodville. I've got my eye on that one, but for now they get the nod at number 1. Brock, with their loss to Pleasant Grove, drops to number 2, but we keep them in the top 2. Mount Vernon moves up a spot with their win over Quinlan Ford. Malakoff's a big mover. They jump up 3 spots from number 7 to number 4 with their win over West Rusk. Very impressive. Lorena, we punished them by dropping them from number 3 to number 5 by losing to China Spring like that. Columbus up 2 spots to number 6. Grandview down a spot with their loss to Glenrose. That's a 4A Glenrose team. Edna up a spot with their win over East Bernard. West up a spot to number 9 with their win over Godley. Out of the rankings is number 5 Jim Ned with their big loss to Hawley, but new to the rankings, number 10 Shallowater. They beat Monahans.
Grandview and Malakoff this week. That one's tasty,
Mm.
as always. But
3A Division II. The number 1 team in the state remains unchanged because Gunner didn't play. They remain number 1. In fact, the top 4 are unchanged. Gunner, Canadian Newton, and Dangerfield is all unchanged. It's not until you get to number 5 that you have some changes. Holiday up a spot to number 5. Poth up a spot to number 6. Childress up a spot to number 7. West Rusk drops from number 5 to number 8 with their loss to Malakoff. DeKalb moves up a spot despite not playing. East Bernard, number 9, drops out of the ranking. New to the rankings at number 10, the Idalou Wildcats. They beat Sweetwater 38-20. To 2A. The 2A Division I was just just crazy town banana pants.
Sitting by Ish when he was helping put together these rankings was
It's just impossible. It's impossible here. We have a new number 1 team. It's the Timpson Bears. They did enough, certainly beating Beckville, who drops out of the rankings at number 8. Stomping Beckville. They do enough to grab the number 1 spot, especially with the loss to Shiner. Shiner drops to number 3 with their loss. Still a believer, but because they were punching up, but still. Hawley, with their very impressive win over Jim Ned, they jump up to number 2. Awfully impressive there. Centerville moves up 2 spots from number 6. Crawford up 2 spots from number 7 to number 5. Coleman up 3 spots with a 7-6 win over Mason. Real hard-nosed stuff there. Cisco up 3 spots. We keep Refugio ranked. Refugio is the number 8 team. They drop from number 3 to number 8. Also losing in week 1, I believe, was Marlin. They lose to Crockett. 48-31. They drop from number 4 to number 10. New to the rankings, the Stratford Elks, the defending 2A Division II state champs, they're a winner in their 2A Division I debut with a win over Spearman. They grabbed the number 9 spot. 2A Division II, a little bit of change here. So Munster loses to Bells. Bells is a larger team. We dropped them from number 2 to number 3. We move Mart up to number 2 in their stead. A lot of the rest is a lot of chalky.
And Mart really had to squeeze by.
Yeah, they did. They beat them 54-0.
Oh, what was I thinking? Maybe it was. I don't know. I was thinking
somebody squeaked by. I promise you.
I thought it was Mark.
Burton, Wink, Windthorst, all the same at 5, 6, 7 respectively. Chilton up a spot to number 8. Tenaha up a spot to number 9. Falls City was number 8. They drop out of the rankings with their loss, but new to the rankings, number 10. Price Carlisle, the Indians, into the number 10 spot at 2A Division II. To the 6-man ranks we go, 1A Division I, where we didn't want to go crazy. As we kind of mentioned in Monday Morning Fallout, we didn't want to go crazy about shaking things up, even though there were some teams that lost here. So, for example, 1 through 6 entirely unchanged. All winners, all looked very, very good. Borden County moves up a spot. They swap spots with Happy. Happy lost to Westbrook, 62-16, but Westbrook's also the number 1 team in the state. So I think that's fair. We dropped them 1 spot. We also flip Erie County and Turkey Valley. Turkey Valley lost to Garden City. That's the number 5 team in the state, and they lost by 4 points. That's about what you'd expect. We punched them by dropping them a spot, but Erie County nudges ahead of them to number 9. That's how we keep it. But the 10 teams are the same, just jumbled a little bit between 7 and 10. To 1A Division II, well, there's a lot more movement. Benjamin and Balmorhea maintain their spots at number 1 and number 2. Balmorhea did lose to Rankin there, but they were a team that's a top 6 1A Division I team, so we're not going to punish them too hard. Richland Springs, we vault them ahead of Jayton, who got beat by May. That is a top 3 May team, but Richland Springs was also impressive, and May was, Jayton was not super competitive in that game. May really dominated them, so we dropped them 1 spot, but wanted to give them the respect of punching up a classification by not dropping them too far. Whit Harrell up 2 spots with a win over Spring Lake Earth. Lamesa Klondike up 2 spots, or up 3 spots with a win over Kroll. Cherokee up 3 spots with a win over Smoking for Jesus. There are 3 new teams into the rankings. We lost 3. Number 5, Strawn lost to Knox City in a bit of a stunner. Motley County lost to Ira. That was a bit of a stunner. And Throckmorton lost as well. We dropped them out of the top 10 for now. In their stead, number 8, Oakwood jumps in. Number 9, Lorraine. And number 10, Oglesby take their spots in the 1A Division II rankings. To the private school ranks we go. You got the private school ranks?
No.
I didn't send that to you?
No.
I'm almost certain I did. But anyway, private school ranks. Top 5 are unchanged in private school ranks. Parish Episcopal, Midland Christian, Fort Bend Christian, Dallas Christian, and Houston Second Baptist were all winners, so they remain in the top 5. One change in the 6-man classification. Fourth Covenant Classical, Conroe, or rather, there are a couple of changes, I should say. Fourth Covenant Classical was a winner. They maintained the number 1 spot. There it is.
Got it.
Fourth Covenant Classical maintains their number 1 spot. Waco Live Oak, or rather, Conroe Covenant beats Waco Live Oak 60-42, so we just flipped them spots. Number 2, Conroe Covenant takes number 2. Waco Live Oak takes number 3. Houston Emery Weiner up a spot with their win over Dallas Lake Hill. San Marcos Baptist, number 4, lost. They drop out of the rankings. In their place, number 5, Austin Veritas. They beat Williamson County Homeschool to crack the top 5 in the private school ranks in 6-man. So there you have it. The Dave Campbell's Texas Football Associated Press rankings for week number 2. A little bit of chaos in a few different places. A lot of recalibrating there with our
5A
rankings.
Division 1 and 2A Division 1 were the chaos ensued.
Those are 5A D1 and 2A Division 1 were the real tough ones. And yeah, there were other places.
But it made it fun.
And again, a lot of that just comes down to who you played and how you played them. Is basically kind of what we're judging. We want to give some grace, but for example, if you get your clock cleaned, it's kind of hard to give you a lot of grace. So there you go. There is your Dave Campbell's Texas Football Associated Press rankings for Week 2. Let's go over to Ashley Pickle for America's second favorite segment. Final thoughts.
A lot of comments over the app. Let's say one, the app is not broken. There's a lot of comments coming in. Y'all need to fix the app. It needs to be fixed. It's not broken. It's working. I think that there are improvements to be made, and we're going to continue to do that as they keep coming out. But I think the biggest thing to make clear here is the interface is different, and people might not understand how to use it. So keep using it. It's easy. It works.
I want to. Here's how I'll classify it. And first of all,
it's just different.
I'm not an app developer. There's a difference between broken and buggy.
Yes.
There are some bugs that we're working out. We understand there were some issues with scrolling in the app on Friday night. We think we've got those fixed. There are some bugs to work out. A lot of, and to be real honest, a lot of our concern on Friday night was making sure it just stayed up, that it could handle the load, that you could score games, and that you could search games and you could find the scores.
And it did.
And it did. I'm not here to gaslight you and tell you that your experience was perfect. We're working on that. The scrolling issue is something that we're working on right now to make sure that it can be handled. So we're working on that right now. That should be fixed for Friday night. There are also things that, plain and simple, we can't find the issues until we get to a Friday night, and we have to, like, when we get that kind of load in there, and you can't load test that kind of stuff.
Right.
So I understand some people's frustration. Part of it, there are some bugs that we are working out. It is a new look, but I promise you it's the same functionality.
Right. I think the biggest piece of advice here is if you have a specific thing that you didn't like, let us know what that is. Just typing and yelling, whether it's responding to tweets, whether it's being in the comments of going, it's broke, like, fix it. That doesn't do anything for us. We need to know what you didn't like about it.
The app was working.
Yeah.
The app was up. You were able to search for scores and score games and things like that. Like I said, the scrolling was buggy, and there were things like
But knowing
things like
that, then we've turned around and we've already started working to fix it before next Friday. But it's because you told us what the issue was. You're not just screaming, fix the app. It's not broken. Right.
There's a difference between broken and buggy. There are some bugs that we are working out. We're happy to get those fixed. And yeah, so other than that, though, I hope you guys had a great weekend.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for us. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/Dave Campbell. And, of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. Thanks again to Jerod Fikac, the head coach of the Cuero Gobblers, for being our guest. For Ashley Pickle, I'm Greg Tepper. Vince Young, please get your Player of the Year trophy. We'll see you tomorrow on Texas Football Today.